The crypto-backed loans today allow people to essentially borrow against Bitcoin that they have in their Coinbase account. So they can get instant liquidity without selling the Bitcoin. Staking empowers our users to unlock financial freedom by partaking in the crypto economy, earning rewards on their stakeable crypto assets.
What are your thoughts on the tokenization market? A lot of these firms looking to put a lot of different things on the blockchain, whether it be stocks, gold, and other assets.
Ultimately, on-chain economy is one that people are viewing as increasingly powerful.
This episode is brought to you by Propy, which is leading the charge in putting real estate on chain. Propy is a game changer. You can buy and sell real estate with cryptocurrencies using the Propy platform, which is powered by a blockchain, of course, and they have a native token called Pro. And I've been an investor in the Propy token since 2018. So Propy is a licensed Web3 pioneer operating since 2017. They have facilitated over $4 billion in transactions. They're putting titles and deeds on chain. They use Coinbase for their crypto escrow service. So this is a great platform. And once again, they are ahead of the curve when it comes to putting real estate on chain. And they just launched a great campaign where you can earn some of the Propy tokens. And it's simply by doing tasks such as sharing their vision video, signing up and inviting a friend, and much more. So if you'd like to learn more about Propy, visit the link in the description. Hey folks, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast. I'm your host, Tony Edward, and joining me today is Ben Shen, who is the head of financial services and loyalty products at Coinbase. Ben, great to have you.
Hey, Tony. Great to be here. Excited to chat Coinbase and all the products that we've been rolling out.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, you and the folks at Coinbase have been doing a lot of work. There's a lot of cool features, new things have been launched. And, one of the big milestones you folks have hit recently is with your crypto-backed loans crossing over $1 billion, which is pretty incredible. But before we get to all of that, tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, and your professional background.
Cool. So I was born in the United States. My parents were doing their graduate studies, but I grew up properly in Taiwan. So moved back when I was around 2 years old, had an international education until my high school graduation, and then moved over to back stateside to go to Columbia for my undergrad studies. And then in terms of sort of like other background, prior to joining Coinbase, I started my career on traditional financial services. I was an equity derivatives or volatility trader on the Goldman Sachs trading floor. And then I moved into an operating role at some point. But between that, spent some time as a cross-capital structure investor. So investing across high-yield distressed equities, high-yield distressed debt, as well as equities, capital structure arbitrage, et cetera, as an analyst, looking at different industries. And then back in around 2016, got interested in being an operator. So being in the ring and building rather than, say, betting on the fight, so to speak. So around that time, I joined what was then Square Cash, now Cash App. It was a fledgling sort of 10-person strong startup within then Square, now Block, competing really with Venmo on the P2P space. So wore a lot of different hats on that journey, really thinking about how we scaled this business, expanded beyond peer-to-peer into things like, users today can get a debit card, they can direct deposit their paychecks, and millions of people do. They can save, they can invest, and a whole suite of financial services. So was there helping build that business from the ground up for the better part of about 9 years. And then back in May, came to Coinbase and started a new adventure building out our financial services and loyalty products.
Oh, that's awesome. And your background, it's so funny. It touches on some of the key factors that are so relevant in crypto. You mentioned being at Cash App and the peer-to-peer aspect of that, and fintech, and changing the way banking and financial services are doing it. And you were also in TradFi, and all those things are so prominent now with crypto, and obviously what Coinbase is trying to do.
Yep, absolutely. I feel like all the worlds are in some ways converging. And there's a lot of, let's say, pattern recognition from, my former lives that I definitely bring into the role I'm in today.
Along the way, when did you first discover Bitcoin or crypto, and what was your aha moment? When did it click for you?
Yeah, it was about 2016, when I joined Cash App. So Basically, at the time, the overall ethos was around economic empowerment, innovating on the boundaries of money itself as well, and offering capabilities to users. In 2017, Cash App actually introduced Bitcoin trading and Bitcoin investing to its users. So, as part of that, played a role in thinking about the strategy, how we would roll it out to our user base, and got really interested in just Bitcoin. Read the white paper, got personally invested. And then, of course, from there, the rabbit hole goes really deep. So started to understand, different parts of the crypto ecosystem across Ethereum, Solana, et cetera. And over the years have just continued learning. Of course, there's a lot of ethos around the crypto space, trying to do a lot of the same things around, serving users, leveraging the superpowers of, being permissionless, instant money movement, and a lot of the stuff that I'm sure we'll talk about today.
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk about the crypto back loans program or product that Coinbase has, because you guys recently crossed a huge milestone with users borrowing more than $1 billion and the locking of over 1.3 billion in Bitcoin or collateralized Bitcoin. Tell us about the growth of this product and obviously maybe a bit of a background. What is it and how people can use it?
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, the crypto backed loans today allow people to essentially borrow against Bitcoin that they have in their Coinbase account. So, they can get instant liquidity without selling the Bitcoin, say, incurring capital gains, or really just they just want to hold on to their Bitcoin, but they have everyday needs. Whether that be purchases in their everyday lives, we've seen some users make large discretionary purchases like a car or even a home, or potentially paying down other debt, which is more expensive, and really a whole myriad of use cases. So, what a user can do is they can go into the Coinbase app. They can, either use the Bitcoin they have, or of course they can trade and buy the Bitcoin, and then they can instantly look at, input how much they want to take in terms of a loan against that Bitcoin as collateral, specifying certain things around loan to value, see the borrowing rate, and then the Bitcoin is then locked up in a smart contract via our integration with Morpho, and the user will have that USDC immediately, which they can use. So it is truly a much faster product. The rates are very competitive relative to what and lower than what a lot of other alternate venues to the same liquidity provide. And we've seen users really, really just use the feature for all kinds of needs. So I guess like we've scaled now to, as you mentioned, over $1 billion in all-time originations, and of course that's less than a year after we've launched. And in terms of collateral, I think we're now probably at like 1.4, maybe going on 1.5 billion in Bitcoin collateral. So it really is this really market improvement over the way a lot of other people might otherwise get liquidity through the TradFi system.
Oh, for sure. So is it a combination of retail investors as well as institutions that are using this product?
So all the numbers we talked about are the retail users using the Coinbase app for their personal accounts. And so, like, of course, the borrowing customer job, so to speak, is one that spans obviously both retail, institutional, et cetera. And there are other parts of Coinbase that are serving those needs, though, like, not factored into the numbers that I just mentioned.
So let's say, take myself as an example. I have maybe a few Bitcoin and Coinbase, and I want to take out a loan to do some upgrades to my house, or I don't know, pay for a certain like my daughter's college scholarship or whatever, right? Or tuition, I should say. Um, Walk us through that process. What percentage of Bitcoin's value am I getting a loan off of, and what happens with the market volatility? How is that taken into account?
Yeah. So you can specify a loan to value for the loan that you want to take out. Of course, we have guardrails, right? So we really sort of set the guardrails to make sure that users are, taking responsible action. Though ultimately, it's on the user to decide. For example, if I launch, the DeFi borrow functionality in Coinbase, say like I could set a 50% loan to value. So let's just say I have $100,000 in Bitcoin in the account. I could take a $50,000 loan, right? Get 50,000 in USDC proceeds, and in your case, for example, use it to pay that tuition. And then in the app, we will show you the loan to value based on the price of Bitcoin and the fluctuations. So you'll see the health of the loan, right? So for
Mm.
example, fair, good. And then we also have user facing notifications when there are where there's market volatility, where there's the potential for the collateral to be liquidated or sold, right? That way, a user can come on and they can decide to repay the loan, right? They can decide to add more collateral. So these are all sort of like user facing pieces of functionality we give you, so you can get that liquidity, and then also, of course, manage against that Bitcoin collateral as you see fit.
Got it. And then, as far as terms, are there terms on being able to borrow? Is it like 5 like, how the mortgage terms are or a car loan terms are?
So today it's they are open-ended floating rate terms. So I think today, if you just open the app today, you can borrow at 7.5%. Once again, really competitive versus a lot of the alternatives you'll see. And the supply and demand essentially in the market will determine the rates, right? So a
Mm.
user can kind of monitor the rates. As we continue building out the feature and functionality, you can expect that we can think about additional parameters and things that could serve different needs for users. So, but today it is open-ended floating rate terms.
So open-ended. So I could pay this back in whatever time frame I want?
Yes, and we ultimately believe that there's just this really wide range of potential needs, right? You might look to pay off your daughter's tuition in advance of a paycheck that you might receive in, let's say, 2 weeks, right? And after
Mm.
2 weeks, you may want to pay it down and sort of like get the collateral back and no longer have a loan outstanding. As I mentioned, we have seen, purchases even up to a home, in which case
Mm.
they're potentially taking that in lieu of, let's say, a 30-year mortgage,
Oh,
right? And so
wow.
in that case, that user may or may not want to pay it down, in the immediate term. They might actually want to keep it that loan outstanding in the same way that they would, right? If they had gone to, let's say, like a B of A or a Wells to get a long term mortgage.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's such a great option. I mean, to be able to do things like that, buy a home. So, I think you may have addressed this, but I want to make sure I wrap my head around it, and even for the users who are watching and listening, because this is brand new to a lot of folks. So let's say I have 3 Bitcoin on Coinbase, right, and the value is like over 300,000 based on market price right now. I want to take a loan of 150,000, which would be approximately to 50%, and because the loan is open ended, I don't have to make monthly payments. I just have to repay it at some point. But let's say then I wait 5 years and it's 2030 and Bitcoin shoots up to $500,000.
Mhm.
What happens in that scenario? Can I liquidate some of the Bitcoin or to repay the loan? Like, can I do things like that?
Yes, absolutely. So you can repay the loan at any time. Let's say in the process of Bitcoin rallying and increasing in value, your loan to value will naturally be decreasing, right? So technically,
Mm.
like if you did nothing, the health of your loan in terms of just asset coverage would just be getting healthier and healthier, right? And at any point in time, let's just say you had USDC in your account and you wanted to pay down the loan, you could do that. Let's just say you wanted to basically use some of the Bitcoin collateral to pay down. We offer you the capability of withdrawing collateral from your loan, because let's say now your loan to value is so low, right? You're feeling really good about the health of your loan. You can withdraw some of that Bitcoin, and then you could decide to sell some of it, use those proceeds to pay down the loan. So what you mentioned is entirely possible with the product suite that we're offering today.
Wow. And a dumb question, who are the lenders here and how are they have able to do the open ended term?
Yeah, so the borrowing activity happens through our integration with Morpho. So it happens entirely on chain, where Coinbase is allowing our users to access these really valuable on chain capabilities. And essentially on chain, there are Morpho vaults and markets where, there's a facilitation of borrowing and lending activity, right? So
Mm.
I guess we'll get to it at some point, but like there are platforms that allow users to lend USDC, including Coinbase, right? And those funds go towards facilitating also the borrowing needs, right? But not in like a one-to-one direct fashion, but all through the on-chain capabilities that Morpho provide.
Is it like application running on Base?
Morpho is on Base.
Hmm.
Morpho is also on Ethereum and other chains, though DeFi Borrow and DeFi Lend on Coinbase are on Morpho on Base.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. I love that, and the endedness of it makes it unique, because if you are planning to be a long term holder of Bitcoin or another crypto asset, it just gives you the long term horizon. And if we have the thesis that all this is going to continue to go up due to different factors, uh, this is a better way almost than going to sell and incurring capital gains taxes and much more.
Yeah, I think a lot of users are finding it that way. And of course, in the end, I feel like it's all about the configuration and optionality you provide to users, right? Some people do like that open-endedness. There are other users who, have a fixed borrowing need in mind. So I think as this space ultimately expands, there will be different configurations and optionality that users increasingly have to serve their everyday borrowing and liquidity needs.
Oh, for sure. And what about expansion to other assets? So, folks hold Bitcoin, Solana, XRP, whatever else, right? Are you planning to add these expand to other assets?
So from the outset, when we announced and launched this product, I think we stated that we ultimately want to maximally serve the borrowing and liquidity customer job. So you can expect that we're thinking about how to do that, and expansion to other assets is, of course, like part of the equation. So I won't comment too much on our exact plans, but ultimately, I think if you want to serve people maximally on liquidity and borrowing, you want to serve them across, where they're at, right? The different assets that they might hold.
You may not be able to answer this question, but as you were talking about, we were talking about the home example of someone buying a house. Does it make sense for Coinbase to explore mortgages, given that you're doing this type of lending? Maybe you're able to offer, or maybe not. Just the loans itself is fine. I don't know, but maybe some sort of mortgage product. I don't know.
Yeah, I also won't comment too much, though. Once again, I do think that it's under the same customer job,
Mm,
right? And for the same reasons, a user ultimately has a purchasing need, and a mortgage is a form of that. So I would say today we're really focused on sort of like the goodness we have with the DeFi Borrow product, and there's a million different ways we can take this. And
sure.
if I take a step back, we're ultimately thinking about our users' financial lives, right? And how we
Yeah.
can bring financial services on chain, serve them extremely well, across the various facets of that, right? So, I don't know, if you kind of extend the timeline long enough, there's like little that we wouldn't consider doing. But once again, I'll kind of just keep it more general as it pertains to our near term plans.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I love the product. I think this is such a great idea, and I've spoken to some other folks at Coinbase at the Coinbase Summit. I'm looking to do this. I was waiting to see how the price of Bitcoin would move, but I think it's something well, I should say I discussed with my wife. I haven't pulled the trigger yet, because we're just trying to decide certain plans as far as home upgrades or buying a larger home or things like that. But this is a great option because, man, I hate taxes, and I would hate to have to give up my Bitcoin, incur taxes, versus I can hold on to it and get a long-term, loan like this to do what I need to do.
Yep, and smart move to get that approval before you make a decision. But yes, I agree with you. And then once again, like I think a user would be thinking about the various alternatives they have, right? Like, folks are smart; they'll think about the cost of borrowing, and we do believe that Bitcoin-backed loans are a really attractive way to get that necessary liquidity, particularly if you're already holding Bitcoin as you are.
Talk to us a bit about security, and even is there insurance? Let's say something. I'm not saying something will, but in the event that something may have failed, or gets broken just temporarily, what happens to the user's collateral?
Yeah, so there is no insurance program, and Coinbase is ultimately helping facilitate users accessing this really valuable capability through the integration with Morpho from the ease of the Coinbase app. So yeah, like users should of course like do their own research and make that responsible decision on their end. Of course, like Morpho on their end, they also have their own security practices, etc. So there's a lot of information, both online. I think some of it we also serve up an app that users can, of course, use to educate themselves.
Got it. I wanted to ask about some other big news around Coinbase, and most recently was the announcement of the Samsung partnership, which is huge. Tell us about that, and what's the vision here?
So we ultimately want to, allow users to, as many people in the world really, to use crypto to further their financial lives. And through that, one of the strategies is to partner with platforms to distribute Coinbase and the various services that we offer. So in the case of Samsung, we're offering 75 million plus Samsung Galaxy users in the US free access to our membership program,
Mm.
Coinbase One, to bring them on board. And through that partnership, we're also bringing crypto access to a lot of people where they already are, right? Through the device that they use every day. And Coinbase One, just because I'm not sure if everyone knows what that is, it's basically our membership program that provides a suite of benefits, right? Zero trading fees, boosted USDC reward rates, boosted staking rates. We've also rolled out the Coinbase One card recently that allows you to
Mm.
earn up to 4% back in Bitcoin on your everyday spend. There's account protection. So there's more features actually at this point than I can really kind of name in a concise way. But I think the whole point is to not only introduce people to crypto, but also introduce them to a membership that maximizes the way that they can use crypto in their everyday lives, as well as grow their money, right, and their assets. And so, with Samsung, they are going to be distributing this membership, providing Samsung users with the ability to quickly come on board and then also get the best of what Coinbase offers.
That's really great. It's such a huge on ramp. I am a Coinbase One used subscriber, if you want to call it that, and I do have a Samsung phone. I'm on the Android side, so looking forward to testing out that integration. That's really great. And I know Ben, you probably can't answer this, but I'm assuming you're going to be knocking on Apple's door to do this as well with them.
No comment on that. Also, thanks for being
Awesome.
a Coinbase One member. Hopefully, you've gotten the Coinbase One card. Though, if not, you should also order that.
Yeah, I need to order that. I've been so busy that I haven't even, got a chance to think I know of it, right? And I saw the announcement and everything, but, I think I'm gonna try to do that this quarter as things, settle down a bit. I'm not traveling as much. And then there was also some really great news about staking in New York. I know there's a lot of people in New York who have been frustrated with not having access to certain, services across the board, right? Not just Coinbase, but I try to remind people, there's this thing called the Bit license, unfortunately. And much more, and they're very strict, the NYDFS. Tell us about the launch of staking for different assets there.
Yeah. So obviously, we have a ton of valued users in New York. And before we even get to staking, Coinbase One Card is also now available in New York. So,
Ah.
we're very much pushing into just allowing our users in New York to access all of the tools that we provide to further their everyday financial life. So staking is obviously a huge win for consumers in New York and just economic freedom more generally. So staking empowers our users to unlock financial freedom by partaking in the crypto economy, earning rewards on their stakeable crypto assets. Right. So New Yorkers can now essentially sign up for Coinbase if they don't already have it, or if they do, they can have their assets staked, within seconds. Right. Just go into the Coinbase experience. You can stake ETH, you can stake Solana, a host of other assets. And we applaud New York for embracing the future of finance and supporting economic opportunities for its citizens. And I think there's an example. This is an example that a lot of other states that don't currently allow staking can hopefully also follow, so that their users can also, once again, maximize their optionality and how they want to manage and grow their finances.
Yeah, that's such a great thing, and I love the staking aspects of some of these blockchains, proof of stake, and being able to earn these passive rewards, right, for being a participant on the network. And to your point, hopefully other states follow, and then all this is opened up to more people as it should be.
Yep, absolutely.
Um, Now you guys are doing a lot, obviously. What else is on your roadmap that you can share?
So, I mean, if you've been following Coinbase, you will hear that will have heard that we're working on delivering the everything exchange. So being the place where users can trade and invest in all assets, right? Whether that's, across crypto, across DEX assets, which we recently rolled out to all of our users, and as well as across equities, prediction markets, and a host of others. So that is definitely one theme where the company is pushing forward on, just really giving our users maximum access to all the ways that they can in their everyday lives, trade, invest, and grow their money. That's one theme. And then if you take a step back, one big focus of ours is really to just help people grow their money, in the best way that they can. So in addition to trading a host of assets, once we've rolled out a number of those features, you can stake, right? You can hold USDC, and earn rewards. And then we obviously rolled out DeFi Lend, where a user can, I think currently at the moment, you can earn about 8.5% on your USDC by
Mm.
similarly lending it to on-chain, right? And then outside of that, I would say, the Coinbase One card, it is a mechanism for us to start serving your everyday relationship, right? Whether you're out buying groceries, you're hopping on the subway, or anything else. So I think there's one big theme around helping your users grow their money across trading, investing, and even just deploying their assets and even spending, right, in their everyday lives. And then outside of that, we rolled out the Pay tab that allows people to send money instantly and for free, anywhere in the world. And they can send USDC, they can send crypto assets. So you can see this host of sort of like different uses of money in one's everyday life that are starting to emerge, right? And DeFi Borrow is obviously sort of at the intersection of that, where you may have traded or bought Bitcoin, or and then you want to get liquidity from it, right? That liquidity, that money, maybe you use it directly on Coinbase, right? Or maybe some people withdraw that money to another institution and conduct their needs there. So yeah, I would say those are some of the themes of things that we are working on, and Coinbase One obviously is a supercharger across all of that.
Oh, absolutely. And I love Coinbase's mission to create a super app and kind of all in one where you have all these features and like you said, like helping people to grow their wealth and do their finances and so forth. And from one point of view, I see it as just a great disruption of the existing banking setup and being able to offer people more in a more decentralized way and not the traditional model where they give you like next to nothing in your checking and savings account and you can put your money to work, right? It's more free, more accessible. So I love that mission, and seems like the puck is heading that direction. Everybody's trying on that same path, trying to disrupt the traditional finance world.
Yeah, I mean, much more to come on this front, and ultimately, we don't really think about being a quote unquote super app just for the sake of it. I think the ultimate goal is really to just serve different customer jobs in a really great and differentiated way, right? If you do that across enough things, then yes, a user might be using you for multiple things in their financial life, right? And thereby you may be a quote unquote super app in their eyes. But I think that's quite different from, a lot of attempts where you see people just want to be a super app or a certain business model, right? You call it a neobank or whatever else, just for the sake of it. And you kind of just want to roll out the br- you know, sort of copy and paste suite of features in order to accomplish that goal, which is a little backwards from my perspective.
Yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts on how? And you worked at some of the TradFi companies, but all of them now coming in, banks capitulating. Obviously, you got BlackRock, Fidelity, all these folks. BlackRock works with Coinbase, of course, but just recently, I mean, even today, Citibank announced they're going to launch crypto custody next year, and it's just amazing what's happening. They're all the institutional herd just coming into this asset class.
I think a lot of people are just recognizing that crypto and the on-chain economy is a really, emergent and powerful way to serve their users, right? And by virtue of that, a lot of them are thinking about how they can use crypto to, further the services they provide, and in many cases, partnering with Coinbase, as you mentioned, right? Like we
Mhm.
partner with the BlackRocks of the world, with a lot of different institutions. So yeah, like I think, as I mentioned at the start of this call, there's definitely a bit of a convergence of sort of like financial services, or what used to be sort of deemed as TradFi, or like traditional non-crypto fintech, as well as say the crypto space, right? And a lot of people are recognizing that ultimately crypto is for all. The tools are powerful, and within it, of course, like Coinbase wants to build, the best and most cohesive services for our users while also partnering and empowering other platforms to do the same.
And on that note, we've seen a lot of digital asset treasury companies on the rise, buying crypto assets, putting on their balance sheet. Michael Saylor's strategy started this whole trend. What are your thoughts on that? And are some of these folks working with Coinbase to like buy the assets, custody the assets, and so forth?
Yeah. So separate from just like dedicated digital asset treasury companies, right? There are certainly just a lot of corporations that are increasingly looking for ways to deploy capital more effectively without sacrificing speed, security, or market access. Right. So, we're seeing also corporate treasuries are under pressure to hedge against inflation or generate yield on their treasury assets. Right. Coinbase is definitely empowering that and partnering with a lot of platforms that are looking to use crypto more in their everyday sort of like company functions. And, of course, within that, there's also, let's say, the strategies of the world and actually more pure play digital asset treasury companies. But I just want to call out that it's actually much more broad than that. If you look at, the various companies that are starting to think about where the role crypto might play in their overall treasury management and allocation.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see all these folks getting involved in crypto. It's fascinating. I'm excited for the future, especially as we get even more clarity in the market from the government around crypto legislation and much more. What are your thoughts on the tokenization market? A lot of these firms looking to put a lot of different things on the blockchain, whether it be stocks, gold, and other assets.
I think ultimately the on-chain economy is one that people are viewing as increasingly powerful. And by tokenizing different assets, you have access to it, right? You can start to empower different things, borrowing, lending, and in different use cases. So, Coinbase ultimately will be continuing to push on this front, whether that's tokenized equities, real world assets, derivatives, prediction markets, et cetera. We are working towards a crypto native launch of tokenized equities as part of our broader strategy.
Mhm.
And we think the total addressable market for equities as well as obviously just tokenized assets is huge, right? So we're seeing the tip of the iceberg on it. We are committed to being on the frontier of it and doing it the right way with deep tech, the right regulatory investments, et cetera. And, on-chain borrowing and lending are examples of that, right?
Yeah.
While, what you've seen in borrowing against Bitcoin as collateral, as well as lending out USDC to earn enhanced rewards. Those are a couple examples where, assets have been tokenized and sort of like facilitating different use cases and DEX trading, which we've rolled out to all our users as of this month. Right, that's another example where people are getting access to a ton more assets for their everyday trading and investing needs. So we're really excited to see how the DeFi mullet, as we call it, can expand our product suite and really turn Coinbase into the premier financial services platform for everyday use. And I think tokenization plays a meaningful role in that overall picture.
Yeah, it would just open up so many new opportunities for these traditional assets. And we started the conversation talking about the crypto-backed loans that maybe eventually, I think you hinted to it, that if I have a lot of tokenized assets and depending on what they are, they could be put to work where I can borrow against them and things like that, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome, Ben. Great stuff. I got some wrap-up questions here for you. First, if you could create your own metaverse, what would the theme be?
Ooh, interesting. Um, yeah, I was part of the cohort that actually like played around with Second Life back in the day. Felt like that was like a metaverse before some of the metaverse hype. I guess there's a lot of craziness across all kinds of metaverses. If I think about it, I would love something that's quite calming and therapeutic, right? Maybe the use of like certain modalities for whether it's VR, AR, some type of metaverse where you actually go to like, you know, enjoy like just like relaxing, sort of like a sensory, like spa-like kind of environment. I don't know. I'm kind of just thinking off top, but that's something that I think could be actually quite interesting. In addition to all of the metaverses where you like create, and you like, have this like sensory overload.
Yeah, I'm with you because recently I've been on a meditation journey where trying to meditate more, especially like having a busy day and interviewing people and talking all day and just like being able to get quiet time, meditate, but like having a metaverse where I can immerse myself in that would be great. So I'm with you.
Yeah,
Uh,
a Calm or one of those platforms should probably build that.
yeah, for sure. Rapid fire questions. Favorite food?
I see. Sushi is probably up there, and Japanese food generally.
Favorite musician or band?
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Favorite movie?
Memento by Chris Nolan.
I remember that. That's one of those movies you can't really forget. Um, Favorite book?
1984 by George Orwell. Maybe Animal Farm. Quite like the George Orwell books.
And when you're not working at Coinbase, what are you doing for fun?
I love to just find like water out in nature. So like could be a water hole, could be the beach. Obviously here in NorCal, we'll just drive up to Bodega Bay or like Sonoma Coast with the family and just enjoy a day out in the sun and kind of like the kind of wild coast of that, or maybe drive even further up to let's say Sea Ranch or Mendocino. So yeah, that's sort of been the theme of my summer, and whether that's there or Tahoe or wherever else.
Very cool. Ben, thank you so much for your time. Love what Coinbase is doing. Love the products, and maybe we'll have to have you back on as you guys launch some cool new things, and we'll talk about it. But thank you so much for joining me.
Great to be here. Thanks, Teddy.